If I'm to reframe this pandemic experience and bestow gratitude onto it, I'm happy because it's been the best thing ever for my creativity. In 2020, I breakdanced, danced, tutted, whacked, and all other manners of dance styles. So far in 2021, I've continued dancing, as the vlog is still called Breaking Badass. But now I've added an intensive creative outlet known as rockumentary editing. I call it a rockumentary because it's gonna rock your fucking ass off. The process has been an interesting one. In some ways, it's actually tied together some threads from my childhood. I'm actually one of the rare 80s children with access to a camcorder. That was still new woo technology back then. In reviewing old footage from the 80s and 90s, I realized that maybe me eventually editing my own documentary was inevitable. I have so much footage, so very much that I think documentary, rockumentary is safely more going to be a series rather than a single standalone piece. In that case, I have to think about how to present my ideas. Anyone who's followed the vlog knows that I have many different philosophies from the norm, and I'm going to touch upon them in the rockumentary, but in a way that's still entertaining. I think, at least. In any case, reviewing all of my footage from literally childhood till now also covers my adventure traveling career from 2013 on to 2020. Even though I experienced all of those adventures viscerally and sensually, I'm really fucking shocked at how much I've already forgotten in such a short time span. That's why maybe I've really always been funneling towards this documentary editing exercise, because for someone outside of the film industry without a clear goal, I ran footage long all the time. Why did I do so? I think in some ways I intuitively knew that at the very least it would serve as the best form of memory and souvenir for me. The best way to remember what happened is to record what happened. And that's exactly what I did in many different forms. In standard 1080p, in action cam form, including underwater snorkeling and scuba diving, in 360, in VR. So, in scrubbing through my footage, I realized I have so much that I can do different series based on different types of footage. For example, obviously the standard 2D 1080 is something that many people will be familiar with because that's what we've been watching since forever. But 360 and VR 180 are new formats that actually require a lot of post-processing. So while I'm processing my edits for standard 1080p, I'm also thinking about how to best present the new formats. I might just throw shit on my YouTube as a storyboard, in a sense. For a couple of years now, I've essentially used YouTube as a storyboarding device. Obviously, the threads have now threaded together in a way that makes sense, but I really think I probably had some sort of intuition that I was going in this direction, because why else would I been so militant about my video footage? Really, I'm the most militant I've ever met in all of my adventure travels, aside from people who do it professionally, and I've actually never met one of those people. Actually, I have. I met a YouTube vlogger in Dubai. We were both learning to drift cars with a world champ. And yes, he was a professional. He had a videographer. He had a professional gimbaled rig for standard. And he had apparently also just purchased a new drift car with a roll cage after one session. Those drift cars start at about 6 figures, so yeah, I think he's probably doing well for himself. So yes, I've met a person, but then I consider that slightly different because that person is a professional vlogger, professional enough that he can at least hire a videographer. Other than that, I've come across bibs and baubles here and there. I consider that YouTube vlogger the only professional I've met, aside from small things here and there, because I actually had an experience with that vlogger, as in we both learned to drift together. But now that I think about it, a local rapper was filming a music video in Meteora, Greece, and we had a tiff. He was filming without a license, but making the demands of someone with a proper film crew. Here's the thing though, he's Greek and he can come back to Meteora anytime. I'm a traveler adventurer, and I had every right to be there because he was basically filming kamikaze style. He was hoping that he could ask/intimidate people into giving him the sole view of Meteora. So after a bit of back and forth between us, I decided that as a fellow artist, he could have the view for just a short minute or two. But we were yelling at each other, yelling, I guess you could say, playfully. Then eventually I joked that he better earn over 1 million views for interrupting my travel adventure experience in Meteora. So yeah, he's maybe the only other person who this is what live streaming is all about. My stream dropped suddenly, so I hope that this portion appends. I'm guessing the stream was trying to warn me that I'm too technical right now about my filming process. Boring. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll dance to mix things up. Song's really fast. So here's the thing for 2021. In 2020, I focused much more on top rock. Top rock is the element of breakdancing where you stay standing, and I think it's the raddest standing style ever. But when most people think of breaking, they think of footwork, floor work, down rock. Those all refer to the same thing. I think footwork is somewhat of a misnomer because you rely so much on upper body that you could make an argument it could be called handwork. So I'll refer to it as down rock because you're up, standing up, you're down, going down to the floor. In parallel to all of this, I've also just been building upper body strength through calisthenics because I know that it's difficult to just throw your body into the b-boy power moves and freezes. To be completely honest, I'll be happy if I ever get to those because even what I would call the slower intro moves, which are modified yoga moves, take time to set up. So yes, I can do a number of freezes slowly, yoga style, but if you were to ask me to do it quickly to the beat in dancing form, I think that's going to be a lifelong learning experience for me. Maybe when I'm an old granny I'll get to that point. By then I'll have lost so much body mass that I'll weigh next to nothing, and then I can support what little's left of my body on my crippled, decrepit hands. Okay, that's a morbid thought. I'm well intentioned to hone my body for all the adventures that may come, including space. So I'm trying to keep everything in working order, but we'll see. As I explained before, this is maybe what I have to discuss in the documentary. I'm already happy with what I've achieved in terms of adventure. If today were my last day, I'd be cool with it because I've done everything I want to do, and now it's just about doing more and more. In many senses, though, I'm really happy with the creativity that I've really tapped into this pandemic reset or break or whatever you want to call it. Without this forced time, I probably would have really struggled to come back to editing documentaries. The thing with me is that creativity is very difficult to encourage yourself to do when it's always competing with adventure. So the experiences fuel the creativity, but creativity is finicky. So it happens in spurts the way it wants to, and for whatever reason, it's happened a lot during this pandemic. Now, did it have to happen this way? No. It could have gone a completely different route. And that's the thing. I'm just offering the creativity the opportunity to breathe. It comes out how it wants. I'm referring to my creativity as if it's another person, and often I feel like it is, or it's another thing. It does its own thing. All I do as literally the vessel for it is allow opportunity to be creative. So that would mean I prioritize going outside on the patio and just giving myself 2 hours a day to do whatever. Now, I've actually settled into a good dance routine. I have structure. I know how to improve. I have progression for top rock, for down rock, for freezes, for other dance styles like tutting, whacking, all of that. I've had that logical engineering process, but the creativity has come during the opportunity, during the structure that I provided, and sometimes it comes outside of that, and it's about harnessing it. So a lot has happened, and it's mostly been positive and good. Or in other words, I think that I'm interested in so many things that I can find a way to feel positive and good about it, because I've already recognized and admitted that this world is suffering. A lot of times, things were out of your control, and the only thing this pandemic has done is shown us how much our lives are out of our control. So what you have to do, and what you've always had to do, is you've always had to work with some constraints. Even in the height of freedom, of adventure travel, I had to work with constraints. I had to work with other countries' governments. I had to work with tour operators, hotel, etc., cruises. Even backpacking by myself using local infrastructure, I interact with locals, with local transportation, with local systems and processes, cultures and customs. So, am I free, really, to do whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want, even when we were at the height of our freedom a couple of years ago? No. So, using that mindset, knowing that, there's obviously going to be a certain amount where I start to really feel cornered, and I start to feel really like things are desperate, but I'm yet to think that I'm still in a position where I realize that I had so many dormant dreams that now I can realize I'm still happy, candy-coated. We'll see what happens I'm going to think more about being productive rather than thinking about other things, because while I have things that inspire me and motivate me, I really would rather concentrate on that than think about what's going on in the world. Mostly, there are things beyond understanding anyways. As an electrical engineer, I know this. I used to derive equations to discover the secrets of the universe, and I was too dumb. Even though marks-wise, I had considered pursuing further education in the form of grad school and maybe even a PhD, I still think to this day I'm too dumb to understand the physics and math to the degree that I feel I needed to intimately understand it. Some of my TAs and professors assured me that if you just continue down this educational path, eventually you'll figure it out. You'll understand things the way you intimately want to, but I felt otherwise. I think that's one of the areas in where I have extreme self-awareness. Maybe I could have known the secrets of the universe, but I would have struggled immensely. I know this because undergrad was the toughest mental challenge I've ever faced. Nothing since has compared. So actually, when people ask sometimes about that, about some of the adventure travel experiences that I've had, in terms of mental challenge, I still think physics, math, and the secrets of the universe are much more challenging than anything else you could possibly want to know or learn. But in any case, again, time for the second pass, but I think I will choose, hopefully, a slower song. But again, these songs are actually beyond my choice because I'm using the YouTube free audio library, and all I do is I filter by style, by time, and by attribution. So I'm lazy. I want songs that are free to just play without attribution. Then I've been selecting the dance electronic 2-minute-ish songs. But as you can probably have noticed already, when I add the dynamic down rock, it's just a cardio burn. The thing burns. goes a little slower. The thing with down rock is that I've just been throwing whatever comes naturally, because down rock is really difficult, as you can tell. As soon as you go down, you're basically doing something that's really different for the body. You're relying on your hands and upper body to propel you in motion in ways that are new, unique. Even though I've practiced a lot of the base 6 step, I'm still trying to integrate it as a fundamental, because the thing is that what I do, I mimic what breakers do when they're dancing. I basically have completely new songs, and what I do is I basically, I guess you could say, match beats at the time when I'm dancing. So that's actually a really difficult thing to do, to dynamically count beats to the steps to a new song that you've just heard while adding cardio intensive down rock. That's why I'm happy that breaking has made the Olympics, because it deserves to be there. It really does. The form is art and sport combined, like a couple of different disciplines. Actually, all of the extreme sports disciplines that were added are that combination. Surfing, skateboarding, breaking, and climbing. Maybe climbing is a little more technical because they've extracted out the technical elements. I think it's speed is one of them. But if you've ever watched free soloist Alex Honnold climb El Cap, that's art in motion. Yes, it's athletic, but it's also art in motion. So, what I'll do is I will... Ooh. Vlog for long. I'm really getting to the end of my cardio. Woo. One more. I hope I can pick a slower one. A slower, mellower song. Because that's what I'm feeling right now. So I'm going to assume that contracted together, my two separate vlog segments make up one video of roughly 30 minutes as per normal. This is how we know it's live. The last pass I struggled with the song, so I flipped it over to something else. Sometimes I'm having difficulty hearing the beats, and today is one of those days. The first two songs were okay, but I think the first song, because it was so extremely quick, I really burned up a lot of my reserve, so it is what it is. We are good. I guess I'll go for a straight 25. I'll assume that I did 5 minutes earlier. Ooh. 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 By the way, I think that you have to find ways to be happy and at peace most of the time. Otherwise, why are you even here? I know that sounds morbid, but it's true. You're just staying here to suffer. So partly suffering is in your own mind, and partly it's out in the real world. And sometimes they intermingle in ways where you feel like it's one and the same. But I think that you should try your best to control what you can control, and that's what I've been doing now. I'm controlling what I can control, and I'm gonna watch back this heavily down rock routine and probably have some picky anal things about it to improve for next week. But at least the weather's looking up for now. It's been good.